Welcome to this edition of the Lakewood Ranch and Sarasota Lifestyles, sponsored by Glow Reber with Premier Sotheby's International Realty. And on this series, we highlight the best that the community has to offer in theater, sports, dining, museums, and all aspects of the Lakewood Ranch and Sarasota scene. Before we introduce our guests, it's my pleasure to introduce you to my co-host and top producing real estate professional and lifestyle concierge, and that would be Glow Reber. Good morning, Glow.
Good morning, Bruce. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm just so pleased to have my guest today. We're doing the Reber Report. We've had the pleasure of interviewing other experts in their fields, and I'm just so delighted that we have the three of you today. So, Bruce, did you want to introduce them, or would you like me to?
Please do.
Okay. I guess we'll start with Daniel Keeter. Daniel is a realtor liaison at Lakewood Ranch. He is a guru of everything that's happening in our area over here. It's just amazing. And let me tell Daniel, I think I'd like to start with having you give us a little bit of your background, where you come from, why you chose Sarasota, why you chose Lakewood Ranch.
Yeah, of course. So as Glow mentioned, my name is Daniel Keeter. I am the realtor liaison at Lakewood Ranch. And I came by way of the real estate world. I grew up in Ohio on a farm of all places, 300-acre farm. Fell into real estate after college, worked in property management development in Ohio, Minnesota, ended up in New York City for about 6 years, where I worked in high-rise condo management and development for First Service Residential and Choice New York Management. And then I met somebody in New York who was a born and raised Sarasotan. So we moved down here to Sarasota, and I fell in love with Lakewood Ranch and the Sarasota area. So I started working for Lakewood Ranch just about 2 years ago now, actually. And my role there is purely to help real estate agents like Glow all throughout the Sarasota area. I even help agents all the way as far away as Naples, Tampa, even Miami and the East Coast kind of understand Lakewood Ranch, understand everything we have to offer, and to really sell it to their capacity.
So once you got down here, how long has it been now? It's been 2 years?
I've been with Lakewood Ranch for 2 years. I've been in the Sarasota Lakewood Ranch area for about 2.5.
Okay. And so once this virus hit, what did you do? I mean, I was witnessing a lot of it, but.
Yeah. Well, so much of my role, like your other guests here too, relies so much on face-to-face contact and relationship building. So much of what we do is just getting to know each other. And then we build our businesses around those relationships that we've built. So much of what I do is running seminars and training classes for sales agents, but then also just getting realtors out to see the homes and to actually kind of be physically out and about there. So once the pandemic hit, that suddenly changed a lot of what we were doing. Now, luckily, where we kind of benefited is over the last about 12 months, we had already been seeing our reach way beyond the Manatee and Sarasota County area. And we were already looking for ways to really kind of stretch out in a better format to realtors in Miami and in Naples and some of those communities I mentioned at the beginning. So we were already starting to pivot some of our educational supplies to an online platform just to kind of expand our reach. But that meant that we had to do it a lot faster, a lot more efficiently, and kind of really get the ball rolling a little quicker. So we converted all of our seminars, all of our events online formats. And in about a few months ago, we started easing our way back into getting, 5, 6, 7 agents at a time into the model homes. Although that's not nearly as efficient as the 100, 150 people events we were throwing prior to the pandemic. But.
And so now you're talk a little bit about the builders and what is happening actually in the ranch. I mean, we know the builders are out there, the market is taken off.
Yeah.
Strangely so, even in the pandemic.
It's funny. We Lakewood Ranch spends a lot of money talking to market analysis, getting market analysis and researchers way even before the pandemic to understand, how we kind of sit into not only the local, regional real estate world, but also how we sit nationally. And one of the things that we've been hearing for a long time, even before anyone was talking about COVID, was that Florida and the Gulf Coast was really positioned to kind of withstand anything else that was going to be thrown our way past, the 2008, Great Recession and stuff. And a lot of that has to do with this portion of the state just being underdeveloped compared to other portions of the state. The continued desire of baby boomers and other retirees wanting to be in this kind of warm climate, and that it really felt that no matter what kind of occurred, whether it was another housing bubble or another Great Recession, is that we would be kind of cushioned by that. And lo and behold, a few months later, this pandemic came out, and we really saw that kind of stay true, is that the market here not only stayed stable, but we have blown it out of the water. Currently, Lakewood Ranch, which last year sold about 1,650 new construction homes, we thought this year that was going to be a record that we would struggle to keep up with. As of today, I guess we're in November, as of the end of October, we are at 21% over our year-to-year rates. So we thought we weren't going to be able to sell 1,650 homes. We're on span to sell over 1,700 homes this year. So that just tells you. Yes.
Just in the third quarter.
Just as of third quarter. So that just really tells you, like, we're seeing momentum unlike anything else. If anyone's out there looking for homes, inventory is low in the resale. Our new construction builders can hardly keep up. They're falling behind in land development. They're doing everything they can to keep supplying these new construction homes, not only to people coming here from the East Coast states, from the West Coast states, but even for people here in Florida. Still 50% of our new residents come from other parts of Florida, including other parts of the Sarasota, Bradenton areas. So.
Wow. Now, what about, we've heard so much about New Yorkers and Chicago people, the big city people coming down. Are you seeing a lot of that happening?
Yeah, prior to the pandemic, as I mentioned, I think the real statistic is probably about 60% of all new residents in Lakewood Ranch come from other portions of Florida. And a large chunk of them actually come from within Lakewood Ranch. They have a home that they built maybe 10, 15 years ago, and now it's time to be in a new home again. So they just kind of relocate around the ranch. We've always seen that other 40% has been kind of a mix, whether that is coming from the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, or it's coming from California, or even that kind of big Midwest cities, so Chicago, Minneapolis, et cetera. Now, when starting probably about 2 years ago, there was this big movement out of what we call, the SALT cities, so the high state and local tax cities, that were moving down here, because Florida, we don't have, necessarily that state or that local tax issues, especially when you compare it to New York City or other areas around New Jersey. So we've always seen that. And once the pandemic hit, we certainly seen an uptick from individuals, because they can suddenly work from home, and why be in a 1-bedroom apartment in Manhattan when you can have a 3 or 4-bedroom house in Florida for the same price. We've certainly seen that. Has it been this huge boom? I'm not sure. I think what we're really seeing is low mortgage rates, and the opportunity for people to be kind of shifting around and re-examining where they want to live, versus then this huge influx because of people escaping the big cities. There's certainly some of that, but it is not the bulk of what we're seeing.
What are you thinking about the age groups in terms of, is it an older population? Is it just across the board? Who are we seeing coming down here?
Well, the first thing anyone will tell you from Lakewood Ranch is that there is something for everybody, and our average median age is 47. We are not a retirement community, although we have 2 55 and up communities, but we are very much a place that prides themselves in the quality of schools, having lots of playgrounds, an atmosphere that, college students to first-time home buyers to young families to retirees and the working class can all find something. And we continue to see that. When people are moving down here, I would say we probably see a little bit of everybody, honestly. We don't get a huge influx of retirees. Most of the people that live in Lakewood Ranch are here full-time. It's not a whole lot of snowbirds. Those individuals tend to go more towards the Keys, or go out to Siesta Key or Lido or Longboat. We tend to see quite a wide gambit. And as we've kind of continued to build out our business infrastructure, we're getting more of those working individuals, the young families, college students with LECOM right there in Lakewood Ranch. And of course, here and there, the retirees, especially going towards our Del Webb and our Crestwind communities, which are those 55 and up.
Right, right. Now, so how many builders are we at right now? And I know at one point there were, what, 110 models that you could go to at one point, but that's all changed with everything selling. So what's the status of all that at this point?
So we are currently, now the number of villages that we are actively building new construction homes in gets a little wonky because we have some communities that are technically open, but they're only in pre-sale. So there's no models, you can go out there and see that. We're sitting at right about 21, 22 new village communities and about 24 builders. Some of everything from, you know, the big national builders like Lennar, DR Horton, down to some of our regional builders building Lakewood Ranch, like Neal Communities, and some of the smaller builders like Stock Development and Homes by Town, and all the way down to the custom builders here like Lee Weatherington, Arthur Ruttenberg, Cardell, all of those build in Lakewood Ranch. So we're sitting at about 21 new construction builders right now.
Okay, okay, and they're moving. They've got to be all very well pleased.
They are all moving as quickly as they possibly can. There are a couple of our communities, as I mentioned before, that are trying to keep up with some of their land development. I have heard that there are some of the builders that are selling new construction homes that won't be built for almost 2 years.
Oh my goodness.
That's how far behind they are. Not only, you know, Florida has seen this influx, but this influx in new construction homes is happening nationwide, which means there's a timber shortage, there is a drywall shortage, there is, you know, a shortage on some of these building materials. And we're not slamming on the brakes for anything, but there is a little bit of pumping on the brakes and just making sure of, hey, this house isn't going to get built for 2 years. Let's make sure we're all in the same place in sort of expectation wise.
Right. Do you see a particular price range that's going the fastest? I know we have luxury at Lake Club, and of course there's over the concession, but in terms of, do you see anything that's really flashing out there?
So in all honesty, we sit slightly above the median home price in the area. If you're looking at that Bradenton, Sarasota, larger metro area, we sit probably a little bit above in that median home price. You can get homes in Lakewood Ranch anywhere from condos starting in the high ones, so like about 190,000, all the way well over to $1 million plus in the Lake Club. Our kind of sweet spot sits really in between that 400 to 500 mark. We have a lot of builders that are kind of starting in that low fours, mid fours price range, and that has continuously seen, you know, probably the biggest amount of purchases going on. So kind of right in that 4 to 5, that's where we continue to see everything. But anytime we have something that comes up slightly below that 400,000, Palisades, DR Horton and Palisades was doing a home starting in like 325, meaning you could get a single family home with a swimming pool for under 400,000. And they have sold that community very, very quickly. So there's definitely a desire in this area for homes starting in that 300 to 400 range. And we're doing our best we can in terms of bringing other builders into offering a home style like that. But I would say that 400 to 500 continues to be kind of our sweet spot.
It's right in the middle there. Now, so what have you been doing lately? I know there have been some open houses and that type of thing. So what are you working on currently to try to get people back in with the spike in the virus?
Yeah, so we have historically have always done our tour of homes in November. Tour of Homes has been around with Lakewood Ranch since honestly about the beginning. We've been building for a little over 25 years now. Tour of Homes has been going on for about 20. We are already kind of looking to revamp that. And so what we released about 2 weeks ago now is our new Ranch Road Show, which is a purely online series of videos between all of our builders, basically showcasing their community with awesome aerial footage, videos of some of the models, and that is being uploaded to YouTube. And so we've been sending that out nationwide, even internationally. We get people calling from Europe, Asia all the time looking for homes here in Lakewood Ranch. So that was one thing we were doing, was really kind of taking these model tours and these meetings with these sales agents and putting them into a cool video format and sending that out. The next big thing we've been doing, and you know, it's honestly, it's a day by day thing as we're seeing COVID numbers slowly tick up again here nationwide and in the region. But one of the things that we're kind of constantly doing is offering more virtual connections. So we kicked off online chat. We've kicked off virtual overviews where we do a Zoom format like this, and we pull up a map of Lakewood Ranch and we kind of walk them through. And then we try to connect them to the sales agents virtually. So that's the thing that we were kind of continuing to improve upon. Even with the hopes of a vaccine on the rise, who knows how long we're really going to be in all of this. So we're continuing to improve upon those virtual means, not only because they're helpful right now, but I think way into the future, even after the pandemic's over, that they'll be helpful then as well.
And what do you see? I mean, and this is just amazing, but what do you see like with Waterside and that whole new development down there? And then we're going to be hearing from William about that with the Players Center moving over there too.
Yeah, so I think most people, if you're familiar with Lakewood Ranch, you're familiar with our main street. That's where my office is located, and that's been a very successful component of Lakewood Ranch. And it was honestly, as Lakewood Ranch continued to grow, it was time to kind of recreate that to an even bigger and better format, and that's really what we're doing in Waterside. That Waterside region is the portion of Lakewood Ranch that sits within Sarasota County there, kind of between University and Fruitville, east of I-75. What's really cool about that area and why it's called Waterside is because starting back in the 70s, some of that area was used for shell mining. And we dug out these very large lakes that have now been filled with water. If you've been past Benderson over at UTC, you know what that kind of lake looks like. Well, we have 7 of those large lakes all in the Waterside area that we're building this Main Street concept. We have some really cool regional restaurants coming in there. We have great groups like the Players Theater coming down to that region very soon. And we're going to be building homes that are incorporated right into that space. So there's a nice rental apartment community right there. There's another rental apartment community right down the road. There are single family homes coming in all around that region, some new parks structure. It's really a really cool, it gets me excited because one of the things that I love about it is those communities are non-gated. So they're still very private. They're still really nice, but it feels like a true town where you can hop on your bicycle and you can go in and out of some of these areas and ride around and enjoy the nature, enjoy the luxuries down at Waterside Place, that Main Street concept. And it's really going to feel like a very interconnected, nice community. It's one of the best things of modern urban development. So I'm really excited about it.
Oh, that is so wonderful. Well, Daniel, I can't tell you how fun this is to have you on and to listen to all of this. I mean, it's just so interesting what's happening in our area. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. But thank you for this update. I really appreciate that. Now I'm going to move on to Scott Gwynn. Scott, thank you for joining us. Scott is the Director of Development for the Sarasota Opera. Welcome, my friend.
Hi, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit about your background as well.
Well, I came to this, I used to be a professional opera singer. I was singing for about 12 years, primarily at New York City Opera in the early days when it was still really working, so before Gerard Mortier came in. And then I retired from performing and decided to go into administration. And my first job was here in Sarasota, here at the Opera. I was assistant to the executive director, and then I moved on for a brief stint at Florida Grand Opera, and then came back to Sarasota where I landed at the Oslo Rep and worked there for about almost 5 years, most recently as their interim director of development, and then made the jump back into opera.
Now, didn't you go up to Tennessee? Do I remember that correctly?
Yes, yeah, it was a very brief trip up to Tennessee for about 6 months, and the universe told me that Sarasota is where you need to be. You really need to go back.
Exactly.
And so I came back. There's not a town anywhere else like this for the arts, I don't think.
Exactly. So tell me a little bit about why you chose the opera. I mean, it's your background and everything like that, and then it's a nice spot for you to be. Tell us a little bit about what you see, what you do.
Sure. So I chose this company. You know, I sang here in 2006 and fell in love with the company, its philosophy and mission, and also with this area. I remember standing out on the pier down at the Ringling Bridge one day in 2006 and just thinking, you know, I could live here. And the opportunity came up and I took it. And it's a great place to be. You have all of the arts. You have world-class theater, world-class orchestra, ballet. You have great community theater. So it's a wonderful place where everybody who comes down here can get what they want as far as the arts. And if you're a professional, you have places to go. If you just love acting and creating art with your fellow community members, you've got places to do that. So it's just a wonderful place, and food and just recreation, and it's all here.
Well, so now you got over to the opera kind of at the time that this virus hit. What do you see? What happened, and where are you now? I know you had a production last week, was it?
Yeah, we're just wrapping up about a week of concerts. We have our final performance tonight down at Historic Spanish Point. We put together a small concert with some singers that we know and like working with. When the pandemic hit, when we shut down on March 13th, we were just kind of shocked, because it's just in the theater world, it's not something that you've seen before. You don't cancel performances. You keep going. And we didn't have that option, and we had to cancel a quarter of our season, and at the busiest time of our season. It's right when the opera lover weekends were happening, and we had people coming down, especially for those shows. And I remember standing out in front of the Opera House that night, turning people away and saying, no, we've had to shut down. And there was one patron who came in, had just driven down from Atlanta. It was his birthday, and we had to tell him, I'm sorry, it's done. We're done for the season. And I look back on it now, and it was kind of a harbinger of things to come, where he had his annual contribution check, and he went ahead and handed it to us anyway. And
Wow.
That was just a signal of how the donors and the community was going to step up and support us and all of the arts organizations in town.
I mean, that's
So
amazing that they're,
yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't they support the opera? It's been here a long time. And you're right, they'd come down to see that. What is your season?
Yeah.
How long is your season?
Our season, typically we do an opera in the fall that runs for about 6 performances, and then our big season is in the winter, usually in February and March, where we do 4 operas in rotating repertory, it's a mad sprint from the first weekend in February to the last weekend in March. And when we were kind of pulling back and thinking about what are we going to do with this, we knew we weren't going to stay silent. That's been the mantra since March 14th. We are not going to stay silent. And so we started figuring out how can we stay connected to our patrons, and how can we keep the joy of music alive in this area. And so we opened up our vaults and started releasing kind of the best from previous seasons and previous performances online, and we had great response to that. And our giving challenge success, I think, was tied to that, because we were releasing things kind of one right after another, and kind of reminding people of what they love about the company. And then as the pandemic started to kind of wane a little bit later in the summer, before this latest spike, we created these protocols and figured out a way to still produce live entertainment. And so we put together this small concert series for the fall. We're fortunate in that we own our own space and we own our own housing. So we kind of are masters of our own destiny here. So we can bring singers in, we can quarantine them in the housing and restrict their movements. We created a pod with key staff members who were asked to, you get tested every week. You limit your activities outside your home so you can stay connected to this and keep the singer safe. And we set up the house so that we're only selling about 200 seats out of the 1,100 that we have. So every other row is blocked off. We've created little groups of 1, 2, and 3 seats in the theater, and between each of those are at least 3 seats, so everybody's socially distanced. But that, you can't produce opera, full-scale operas, these larger works like we were going to do, like Tosca. You can't do that and only sell 20% of your house. To pay for all of the production expenses, you have to sell at least 70 to 80%. So looking at what we were going to do for the upcoming season, we scrapped the Toscas and the Daughter of the Regiment and Giovanni and all those, and found these smaller pieces that were written for smaller forces. So they're written for smaller cast, a smaller orchestra, and little or no chorus. And they're all an hour to an hour and a half long. So there's no intermission, so we can welcome people back to the Opera House and keep them safe and still give them the Sarasota opera experience that they're used to seeing. So fully produced shows with these beautiful sets and costumes, world-class singers, and still producing opera true to the vision of the composer.
Well, tell me about the one at Spanish Point now. How is that done? Is that outside?
So it's outside, just like we did a concert at Selby Gardens Tuesday night, and we only sold 100 tickets, and we're spacing, the seats are all socially distanced, and the singers are back from the audience. And then there's no interaction, in-person interaction between the singers and the patrons. So we're keeping everybody distanced and a smaller group, and being very mindful of health and safety. So masks are required for the duration of the performance, even outside. So it's just a concert of favorite arias. We didn't want to do, we wanted to present familiar music this fall.
Well, so now what do you see? Where are you looking for this next season, or when will it occur, or do you even know when it will occur? What are your plans, I guess, is what I'd like to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll be doing a split season this year. We'll be doing 2 operas in rotating rep in February and March,
Okay.
or first part of March, taking off a large part of March and then coming back in April to do 2 more operas on this smaller scale. And that the first half of the season runs from February 12th through March 4th. And then we open up again on April 9th and run through April 25th. So it's kind of a split season, but we did that so we had some renters that we wanted to honor the contracts and not mess up any of their plans either. So we have some renters in there in March.
So will that be at the Opera House? Well, these will be the same.
At the Opera House.
Singing and everything else at that point.
Yeah. And we're also going to we're streaming each of these operas too. So for our patrons who it's not quite time for them to come back out into the theater, we have an option for them to still enjoy these productions. So we have a streaming subscription, and any of our subscribers who aren't ready to come back, flexibility is the name of the game for us. And they have an option to convert their subscription to a streaming subscription, or move their subscription to next season and get a credit for that, or just either donate their subscription back or get a refund on it. So we are open to all options.
Well, that's wonderful to have those opportunities online, because I watch those things. I really appreciate the fact that these are things that we can tune into and enjoy the beautiful music. Now, for the new ones coming on, will they be, again, social distance? Are they small opera in terms of cast and all that? Same type of thing, not the full production?
Yeah, you'll still see a full production. It's just smaller forces. So they were written for this purpose. They were written for these smaller European houses. So the casts run anywhere from 2 to 4 people, I think. The only opera that has a chorus is Dido and Aeneas, and that's only a very small chorus. And it'll be made up of our resident artists, who will bring in a small group of resident artists to make sure we have understudies for all the roles. And the orchestras are smaller. The largest orchestra is 23 pieces, but the other operas range from 10 to 16. So it can be anywhere from just some strings to a small brass section. And then again, the socially distanced seating. So
how do they do that with the bands? I mean, it's so interesting. I mean, I guess, yeah, I've seen these Zooms where the conductor is Zooming with other people. They're all playing the same music, but it's different. But I guess with the instruments, not that difficult, is it?
No, I mean, we'll all be here. You know, we'll have everybody housed in our housing, so it's all in person. And you know, those the things that these orchestras have put out, where you have all the different players on the screens, those are so much fun to watch. And you know, but they're also weeks and weeks and weeks of work to put all that together and get it all synced up.
Yeah, just to coordinate all that. Well,
Yeah.
Scott, thank you. This is wonderful. It gives us, I had no idea about so much of this. I haven't had a chance to talk to you since you moved over there. This is so fascinating for us to hear what's happening with you and what's happening with the opera. I mean, I just really appreciate your joining us today to give everybody an update because everybody's kind of in la la land trying to figure out what's
Yeah.
up, waiting for something to open up that we can enjoy. And this is great. So
Well, we're
thank
just
you
happy
for-
we're happy we're able to keep the music going.
Oh my goodness.
And
yes.
that's only,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's only because of the support we've received from the community. We've been so inspired by that and so grateful.
Well, I'll be anxious to see you again at the Opera House, whatever
Yeah.
that may be.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm going
Thank
to
you.
introduce William Skaggs. William is the new CEO of the Players Center for the Performing Arts. Welcome, William. We're so glad to see you. And this is kind of a new venue for you as well, isn't it?
It is, and Glo, I appreciate the opportunity to join you, and certainly along with Bruce, Daniel, and Scott as well. This is a lot of fun, and a chance for me to continue to hear and learn about what is my new community as well.
Was all kind of a new thing for you. So tell us about the Players. There's so much going on there. I don't even know where to start to ask questions about that, about your new space, where you are temporarily. I know I got to go see Sleepy Hollow, the Legend of Sleepy Hollow at the Polo Club, and just fill us in on all these details. I've got your flyer here about all the information about the 70,000 square feet, et cetera, et cetera. So give us some data about that.
You know, we can all say it's an interesting time, right? Because we haven't lived through a pandemic before, none of us. And when you add to that the amount of activity actually that we've had with the players, as Scott mentioned, we dealt with, the organization dealt with beginning in March, the suddenness of not producing. The players had a show that had a performance that night that was suddenly canceled. There was another one to open the next week that obviously didn't occur. So all of the suddenness of that, amidst all of that, and all the way here into the fall, we knew that we were moving out of the 40-plus year home of the players at 838 North Tamiami. And that was because on purpose, a little while back, the players had sold that property with an eye toward Waterside in Lakewood Ranch. And so with the onset of the pandemic, it didn't make sense to stay in that space and frankly, continue with that overhead and continue with everything that happens with being in a large theatrical facility. So what we've done is been through a number of transitions to date, and those will continue. What we did is I got moved out of the theater. We moved and we were able to expand the space in our scene shop to include our costume shop, our storage, our props, all of those sorts of things. So that was an expansion in that area. We were able, thankfully, with our administrative staff, to move to the Players Studio on Boulevard of the Arts. So where we have studio spaces where we offer classes and, in theater and voice and acting and all of those types of things. And we're able to take portions of that space. And that's now where we are officed day to day. Now, a lot of people may think, well, we saw Sleepy Hollow or we see some other outdoor things coming up. What is the future? And what I can say is that we're working toward a new performance space to fill in the interim between now and when we move to Waterside. And so the only thing I would feel comfortable saying on that is in the coming, next 4 to 6 weeks, we should be able to announce what that temporary space is going to be for us. And we're actually really excited about it. Because we like as Scott was mentioning, we've got to find that balance.
Right.
We've got to make sure that we can protect our staff, our actors, make sure we can protect our volunteers, our audiences, all of the various stakeholders that we have involved with us. And so we want to be sure that they not only are safe, but that they also feel safe. And so part of that is doing what we can outside. And then also, as we have a new temporary performance space, working on how does that look and how does that feel and how do we make sure everyone is safe inside. So with masking, with distancing, with all of those types of things that we need to do. So the players is indeed moving forward. We were excited to be able to present The Legend of Sleepy Hollow out at the Polo Club again this year. It was a little bit different. Our director actually rewrote that to allow us to have a smaller cast, to distance them more than would normally be the case. And then, of course, with our audiences, as you experienced, distancing them. And
I love the Headless Horseman.
yeah. And of course, you never know what's going to happen with weather. So that was an amazing weekend, and we were very blessed in that regard. Moving forward into December, we've actually got a small series of 3 shows we're going to be doing outside in the courtyard area at the Bazaar on Apricot and Lime. So we're going to be able to host up to about 70 people, distanced, outside, but in a really wonderful environment. And so the December 10th through 20th, we're having a Christmas Carol. Now it's a little different. Most people are familiar with that Dickens novella, but you haven't seen it with one actor performing all of the roles.
Okay.
So that's going to be
Very fun.
an amount of fun that we do with that. January 21st through 31st, Souvenir, the play Souvenir will be out there at the Bazaar as well. And then coming in February, In Love with Shakespeare, we're going to do some Shakespeare love scenes as we move toward Valentine's. So, having that outdoor series, if you will, for this period of time, as we move forward with plans to again be inside, and as Scott mentioned with the Spanish Point concerts, continuing us to look for options and good ways that we can be out and around the community and be sure that we're providing arts opportunities for one of the things that excited me in moving here, which is, hey, it's called the Cultural Coast. Let's make sure we live up to that.
We like to call it the cultural capital of Florida here. I was remiss, I didn't ask you about your background. Tell us what brought you down here and where you're from and all of that.
Certainly. I'm actually, my family's in the process of moving here from Bowling Green, Kentucky. And Bowling Green sits 60 miles directly north of Nashville, Tennessee. So most people have a decent idea of where that is. But I was, my background is a lot of it has been in philanthropy. And so much of that in higher education, but also with a performing arts center, and in different points in my career sprinkle in some financial services as well. So when I ran across a search that this organization in Sarasota, Florida, the Player Center, was undertaking, I was very excited to begin a conversation with the team here, because much of what's been mentioned in this conversation with Scott and with Daniel and with you has been about the exciting things happening in Sarasota and Manatee counties. Yeah. And truly, when I mentioned Cultural Coast, that was one of the things that stuck out to me when I started looking at, hey, this is an individual professional opportunity for me, but what's the context of the community that I'm moving into, and what would the opportunities be? And to see a growing community like this that also has so much appreciation for not only the entertainment value of culture and the arts, but the artistic value and the economic value as well of what we do. So that's what really drew my attention. And when you take that and put it here with the players for a approaching 91-year-old community theater, the first performing arts organization on this coast, well, that just simply rolls into a package that is extremely exciting to me, and was a wonderful opportunity to come down here and work with this team. I've just really been struck by the talent, on our team here with the players. And so for us to be able to try to continue as best we can and continue to engage and bring value during the pandemic, but then knowing what the future is in Waterside and Lakewood Ranch.
Right, right.
Much of this cultural coast has truly been focused, for good reason, on the coast. We're very pleased to be able to move that east a little bit geographically and help spread the cultural value that we can bring to the region.
Well, and talk about a little bit about what your production, when you get there, will be. I mean, a lot of people aren't familiar with how, oh my goodness, how grand the structure is going to be and what it's going to offer, and possibly to other venues in addition to the Players. Perhaps the opera is going to be able to do performances there, if I'm not mistaken, and or ballet. I'm not quite sure where you were with that, but give us a little background of what we're going to be seeing once you get out there.
What we do is simply, first and foremost, a wonderful new home for the Players. That said, we have an amazing opportunity sitting in a mixed-use development and environment like Waterside to really increase the value that we bring through partnerships like you mentioned. So we will have opportunities to, possibly have resident companies that want to be, regular performers in our facility there, to bring in other entertainment and other artists over time to the community there as well. So it's really going to be a combination, and allows us to move beyond even the scope that we've been, I guess, taking part in or taking place in downtown Sarasota, is to not only be the Players in our productions, but to broaden that and be able to be a home for a broad array of the performing arts and the visual arts as well within Waterside and Lakewood Ranch. So again, that's what is so terribly exciting, is for us to not only play the role we have for so long in this community, but then provide additional opportunities for us to work with so many wonderful partners here in this area.
Right, right. Well, I know everyone's excited. I mean, everybody's in a holding pattern right now, but so excited to see what's going on at Waterside. But every time you drive over there, there's something new that's going up. And with, what is it, under 5,100 homes? Is that correct, Daniel? That they're just about.
Yeah, that's what slated for the entire.
Yeah, yeah. Well, William, thank you. Now, how about some questions? Anybody have questions of each other or anything that we can help you with? I mean, this is just so exciting to have everybody here to talk about what's going on, because I think there's, everybody's in a pattern, like I mentioned, of not knowing what's happening, looking to the future, hoping the future is going to be good, getting out of their homes, not wearing a mask. There's so many things that are part of what we're doing. So it's just such a pleasure to have everybody here. Bruce?
Referred to cultural coast. I have not heard that term before, and I love it. I've referred to it in the past as Lincoln Center, Carnegie Hall, and Broadway South. So that's
I'll take that too. Yeah.
Being a New Yorker, that's what I got. A couple of questions, but before we do that, Dan, could you tell people how they can reach you?
Right.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways. Of course, the easy ways to reach me are by going to lakewoodranch.com and going to our Contact Us tab. You can always reach me by phone call or email, but the other way is by reaching out to the Lakewood Ranch Information Center. So that's where my main office is. That's where some other staff members, including some of our community specialists, sit. And you can reach that way. Probably the easiest is by contacting the information center, and they will patch it through to me.
Okay, and next, Scott, how can people reach you?
You can reach me at best way is my email, sguinn@sarasotaopera.org, and to find out all the information you need about our upcoming performances, our website is the place to go, sarasotaopera.org.
Thank you. And William, how can people reach you?
In a very similar fashion, via email at william.skaggs@theplayers.org, and certainly our website as well, theplayers.org. We also have a very active social media presence, so lots of opportunities to see previews, past performances, streaming opportunities, all of those sorts of things.
Great. And so a question for you, this area is growing so rapidly. Do you see more theater, more opera, more other companies coming in? And what is the future for this area, say, in the next 5 years? Scott, what do you think?
Oh gosh, after the last 9 or 10 months, I have no idea about what the next 5 years will be, or making any predictions. I think you know, we're looking at we're starting the strategic planning process right now. We're just doing our initial interviews with stakeholders and staff and artists, and we'll be putting together a plan over the next year to see what the future for Sarasota Opera looks like. I think as this area grows, I think you're just going to see the existing organizations grow with it. You see Oslo is expanding with their new production center that they're working on. We just purchased the largest stock of theater and opera costumes in North America. So we are positioned to be a provider for opera companies around the country in that respect. And I think once Oslo gets the Koski Center expansion built in their production center, I think you're going to see Sarasota become a center for production across the country. You're going to, with Oslo, there are companies that can come in and create there, with Sarasota Opera being the provider for companies for their costume needs and their sets. We rent out sets as well. So the future is very bright, I think, for performing arts in Sarasota to become even more nationally recognized and nationally important to the arts.
And will that draw a lot more talent to this area?
That's my hope. I think of Sarasota, the potential is there for us to become like a mini New York, or what New York was, 5, 10, 15 years ago, where you have artists coming to live there because that's where the work is. Right. And who knows what's going to happen with New York after the pandemic blows over, and then you have the economic realities that will start to set in up there, and getting Broadway to recover. The opportunities here, like I said before, for both professionals and for non-professionals, you have multiple opportunities. With singers, it's us and the orchestra, and you have ballet, you have professional theater. So I think we are in a position, with all the growth in Lakewood Ranch and everywhere else, to become kind of a national center for the arts, kind of like what New York has been, just not on that scale, but still that quality, definitely.
Well, let me ask you a question. Every year, as I've lived in New York, I've gone to Shakespeare in the Park, in Central Park, and love that experience. How much Shakespeare are you planning to do in the next year? Are there going to be some performances of that?
There is one coming up, basically a collection of various Shakespeare love scenes that we will do leading into Valentine's Day in February out at the Bazaar on Apricot and Lime. So it will be that. Frankly, programming right now, sort of as Scott has alluded to, is kind of a moving target, and trying to figure out, number one, where you're doing those, so that then that helps actually move you toward what you're going to choose to perform. Again, depending on your spaces, depending on indoor, outdoor, those types of things, what we're looking to do is do a few things as we move into spring, become a little more, I guess, somewhat more of a normal schedule for us, hopefully, as we move into summer, and then begin a new season next fall, in large part like we may have scheduled it and known it in the past. Again, we'll see what happens with the pandemic and with how we continue to work our way through that. But those are the basic plans. I think in the big picture that's so important is along the lines of what you asked Scott, and that is how we continue to grow as an arts community, and by extension, we help grow the community. So you'll see organizations in different ways that are already here continue to grow. He mentioned the Oslo. He mentioned the unique way that the opera is growing. Us growing with a new space that's expanding the capacity not only for us to perform as an organization, but to bring in other performances as well. So as the region grows, you'll continue to see the growth in the scale and the scope of what existing organizations are able to do.
When you talked about capacity in your new Riverside facility, how many people can you accommodate?
We are still zoning in on exactly what that's going to be. And as a matter of fact, the pandemic really brings to the fore, if you're going to build a new facility now, which we are, you really need to take a look at not only the historic makeup of your audience, but you've got to do some good solid work on how you're going to do that going forward. Because again, even post-pandemic, whatever that looks like, it's different than it was on March 12th of this year. And so we've got to make sure that people are going to feel comfortable coming into our spaces. And so that's going to impact not only things like how many seats we put in a house, but even how we construct those seats and how we construct the space so that we are being responsible, guests, or responsible to our guests, I should say, when we bring them inside a space.
Sure. Thanks. Dan, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think what I'm hearing from Scott and William are both exciting things, and one of the joys of moving to this area for me and why someone was able to convince me to leave New York City and come to Sarasota was because of the arts and culture here. And I was very excited, as Scott alluded to, when I heard that they were purchasing that massive collection of costumes. When that hit the news, I thought that was really exciting. And in seeing what the Players Theater is doing out in Waterside, and having the ability of having this facility where they can not only show off their own performances, but help other organizations facilitate some really great new things is really exciting too. And Lakewood Ranch, as both of these individuals alluded to, can be a big portion of growing that regional capacity and help offer some more opportunities for great arts organizations like both the Players Studio Theater and Sarasota Opera.
Thanks very much. Well, before I say it's a wrap, I'll turn the
I have
floor.
one more question. This is very important. What's everybody doing for the holiday? What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
I have no idea right now. We had plans, and now we're thinking, are those really the best plans? So yeah, no idea.
How about you, Daniel?
Yeah, kind of the same. It's kind of day by day evaluating of what this kind of new future is next week. Either way, though, it sounds like I have to figure out how to cook a turkey for the very first time. And so whether it's just going to be me eating that, or if I'm going to be able to share that with a few other people, that's to be.
You're going to have to call me. I've done a lot of turkeys over the years.
Perfect, I will.
How about you, William?
Well, the current plan is that I will be joining my family in Kentucky because, as I mentioned, we're in the process of moving down here, and so in addition to seeing them, whom I miss dearly, is also the prospect of an immense amount of packing. So I see family and boxes in my immediate.
Right. Well, it's a strange time. Our plans change as well, but we're looking forward to it as well. And Bruce, may I thank all of our folks today?
Please do. You can wrap it up.
Well, I will then. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate all of you being here. It's just so much fun to see everybody's face, to have a chance to hear what's going on with everything in our area and what you each are doing individually to make that grow. It is so special. We're so blessed to be in this area. So blessed to have you people encouraging people, helping out with our theater and doing what you do. So, and thank you for joining us on my Reba report, and Bruce, of course, as well.
Thank you, Glo.
Everybody have a great holiday.
Thank you.
Oh, same to you, and thank
You
you for
too.
joining us. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.